Hello, I'd like to share with you today some of our ideas about what microlearning is, what it's not, and why we think it's such a big deal. First of all, let's talk about what microlearning even is. There's a lot of different definitions out there about microlearning, but we kind of like this one because it's about more than just a learning experience that's short or quick. So if we look at this and kind of break it down a little bit, the instructional unit part is what we call our micro courses. So the instructional unit is something that can stand on its own as a learning experience. And for us, even though we might bundle some micro courses because they're related, each one can actually stand on its own and has everything the participant would need to learn. The short part of this definition is in every definition of microlearning, but it's a really tough one to quantify. Microlearning can range from a few seconds to a whole hour, and it really just depends on how complex the learning goal is. Microlearning is intentionally designed, which means that the experience addresses the desired outcome. It's not just one big course that's been chopped up into multiple small courses arbitrarily. And it's also not just a collection of resources that are helpful, but not really instructional. So we use a guided design process and structure to ensure that our courses are intentionally designed. And then lastly, microlearning experience should focus on one specific outcome, so not multiple outcomes. There's just not time for that. This laser focus is definitely a driving force for us, and it's difficult because sometimes we want to throw everything we know into a micro course. But we start our course development by defining the learning outcome, and then we tag everything to that learning outcome throughout the entire course. So now, how about some things that microlearning is not? Well, it's not new. We've all been learning in little bursts whenever we can forever. It's also not meant to be an entire learning ecosystem, but rather it's a part of one. Microlearning is not ideal for every single learning outcome, and it's also not a replacement for in-depth, sustained duration learning. It's more of a complement to that kind of learning. So how long should microlearning be? Well, surprise, surprise, there's lots of different opinions on this one too. One instructional designer that we follow, Carla Torgerson, says that a single piece of microlearning content should be able to be consumed in 5 minutes or less. We agree on that 5 minutes because of brain research matched with the type of learning that we're targeting. So we have considered things like spaced repetition, multimedia processing, and cognitive load. And this 5-minute idea is just a guideline for us. Sometimes microlearning content can last more than 5 minutes, and it can certainly be less than 5 minutes. So you can read more about this in a post by Torgerson. I've got the link shared here. It's called How Micro Does Microlearning Need to Be? It's a good read. So that 5-minute and single learning outcome can really help you keep your content micro too. So we like our courses to span about an hour with each individual page, taking about 5 minutes or less of the learner's time. Sometimes that's just not possible there. So occasionally our courses offer a video that's longer than 5 minutes, or maybe a blurb to read that takes less than a minute. So you might find that in your course development too, that you find the perfect resource, but it's more than 5 minutes, or it's really super short. And that's okay. It really just depends on your learning goal and really the context in the rest of your course as well. So I would encourage you to take a look at my other video about keeping content micro for some strategies that you can use to really micro size each piece of your content.